They didn't hide it by forbidding it. They hid it by making it cheap. Think about that for a moment. Every ancient tradition that ever touched real power surrounded it with silence, with gates, with years of preparation before a student was even allowed to approach the inner sanctum. Because they understood something that modern society has completely buried. This energy is not ordinary. It is the same force that built the pyramids, the same force that moved Tesla to his greatest inventions, the same force the alchemists called ignis noster, our fire, the secret fire. And for thousands of years, the keepers of true knowledge guarded it, not because they were selfish, but because they knew what happened when this force was scattered without awareness. Now, look at the world around you. Sexual imagery on every screen, every billboard, every app algorithmically designed to keep you stimulated, scrolling, consuming. Hundreds of millions of people every single day, draining the most powerful creative force the human body can generate into a screen, into a moment of unconscious pleasure, into nothing. Ask yourself, who benefits from a population that is chronically overstimulated and energetically exhausted? A depleted person doesn't build empires. A depleted person doesn't question the system. A depleted person is manageable, predictable, dependent. The greatest conspiracy in human history was never about forbidding this energy. It was about flooding the world with a counterfeit version of it. They turned the sacred fire into fast food, endlessly available, instantly gratifying, completely hollow. And while you consume it in that hollow way, the real thing slips away. The creative power that could have built your vision, magnetized your reality, opened doors you didn't even know existed. Gone. Wasted. In exchange for 30 seconds of stimulation that leaves you emptier than before. This is what the mystery schools protected against. Not pleasure, not desire, the waste. Because they understood the body is not just a physical machine. It is a battery, a cosmic capacitor, capable of storing and transmitting a force that bends probability itself. And today, we're going to talk about what that force actually is, where it comes from, how it was used by the greatest minds and most powerful initiates in human history, and what you can do starting tonight to stop the leak and reclaim what is yours. Stay with me. To understand what was hidden, you have to go back, not decades, thousands of years, to the temples of ancient Egypt, to the inner sanctuaries of the Hermetic orders, to the corridors of knowledge that were never written down for the public because the public was never meant to receive them. In the temples of Isis and Osiris, there existed a practice. They called it anastasis, resurrection. Not the resurrection of a dead body. That is the exoteric interpretation, the surface story told to those who were not ready. The true anastasis was internal. It was the awakening of a dormant force within the living body, a force coiled at the base of the spine, waiting, patient, ancient, immensely powerful. The initiates of these temples were taught over years of careful preparation to move this energy, to breathe it upward through the centers of the body, to transform raw instinct into pure vision. They called it many things across different traditions. Kundalini in the Sanskrit texts, the serpent fire in the Hermetic writings, Chi in the Taoist tradition, Pneuma in the Greek mysteries. Different names, one reality. The caduceus of Hermes, that symbol you see today on medical emblems, was never about medicine. It was a map. Two serpents coiling around a central staff. That staff is the spinal column.
The serpents are the twin currents of this primal energy, ascending in a double helix toward the winged crown at the top, the crown of awakened consciousness. The ancients were not speaking in metaphor. They were describing a literal energetic anatomy that modern neuroscience is only beginning to approach. Now, consider Nikola Tesla, one of the greatest creative minds in recorded history, a man who received whole inventions in waking visions, who accessed what he described as the universal field of ideas, who seemed to vibrate at a frequency entirely separate from ordinary human consciousness. Tesla chose not to engage in physical sexual release, not from moralism, not from repression. He was explicit about his reasoning. He understood that this energy was his fuel, that transmuting it, directing it upward into focus, into creative vision, into relentless invention, was the source of his genius. He was not unique in this understanding. Pythagoras required his inner circle students to practice strict sexual discipline before they could access the higher teachings. Leonardo da Vinci, Immanuel Kant, Isaac Newton. These are not coincidences. These are data points. Now, here is where it becomes critical to understand something precisely, because this concept is consistently misunderstood. Transmutation is not celibacy. It is not repression. It is not shame. It is not the denial of desire. Think of water. When a river floods without direction, it destroys everything in its path. Crops, homes, everything the community built. That is what scattered, unconscious sexual energy does to a human life. But when that same water is channeled, when it passes through turbines, it generates electricity. The same force, completely different result. The difference is not the water. The difference is the channel. The mystery schools were in the business of building channels. They understood that the human body is a biological transformer, capable of taking the densest, most primal energy in the physical system and converting it into something extraordinary. Personal magnetism, creative power, heightened intuition. The ability to manifest reality with a precision that looks, from the outside, like supernatural ability. The body is not a prison. The body is a laboratory. And sexual energy is not the enemy. It is the most potent raw material the laboratory contains. Let us talk about what actually happens, not symbolically, not poetically, mechanically. When sexual arousal occurs in the human body, a cascade of biochemical and bioelectric events begins. Hormones flood the bloodstream, neural pathways fire. A charge builds, densely, powerfully, in the lower centers of the body. In the ordinary pattern, this charge seeks release. It builds to a peak, crests, and dissipates. The feeling afterward is familiar to everyone. Emptiness, flatness, a sudden drop in energy and motivation that can last hours, sometimes days. This is not coincidence. This is physics. Energy was discharged. The battery was drained. Now, what if instead of allowing that charge to dissipate outward, you learned to move it upward? The Taoist master Mantak Chia spent decades documenting what the ancient Chinese alchemists called the microcosmic orbit, the circulation of life force through the body's primary energy channels, up the spine, over the crown, down the front of the body, and back again. A closed loop, a circuit. When sexual energy is drawn into this circuit, rather than discharged, something remarkable begins to occur. The energy doesn't disappear. It transforms. At the level of the sacral center, it is dense, primal, physical. As it rises through the solar plexus, it becomes will, drive, the fuel of action. Through the heart, it becomes magnetic force.
The electromagnetic field that the HeartMath Institute has documented as extending several feet beyond the physical body interacting with the fields of every person nearby. Through the throat, it becomes expression, creative voice, the capacity to speak ideas into being. Through the third eye, it becomes vision, intuition, the ability to perceive patterns invisible to ordinary consciousness. And at the crown, it becomes something the ancients could only describe as divine contact, a felt sense of connection to something vastly larger than the individual self. Now, here is what this means practically. When a human being consistently practices this kind of transmutation, when they stop the leak and redirect the current, their entire energetic field begins to change. The aura, as the Hermetic tradition calls it, the bioelectromagnetic field, as modern research would say, it becomes denser, more coherent, more powerful. Manly P. Hall wrote that the aura of a true initiate becomes luminous and vibrant, radiating an influence that magnetizes everything around it, even without words. This is not mystical fantasy. This is what people describe when they encounter someone who carries genuine inner power. You have felt it. You have met someone, perhaps in your life, perhaps only once, who carried a quality that was impossible to define, but impossible to ignore. A presence, a gravity, a sense that something was moving around this person that you couldn't see, but absolutely could feel. That was transmuted sexual energy operating as personal magnetism. Think about this mechanically for just a moment. What is sexual energy biologically? It is the only force in the human body capable of taking invisible potential and turning it into solid physical matter. It builds bone. It builds blood. It builds a human heart out of nothing but a microscopic code. It is the raw engine of physical creation.
Now, ask yourself the question the ancient alchemists asked. If this energy has the power to materialize a human being out of the void, what happens when that exact same force is consciously directed toward your reality, toward your vision, toward your business, toward your state of consciousness? You are walking around with a laser capable of cutting through steel, capable of bending the very fabric of probability. And society has taught you to use it just to illuminate the dust in the room, to scatter it, to waste it, to laugh it off as a biological reflex. The moment you realize that the energy of reproduction and the energy of manifestation are the exact same current, everything changes. Pause here for a second. I want to ask you one question. Not later, right now, while that is still resonating in your body. Where in your life are you leaking this fire? Not in the obvious ways, the subtle ones. The relationship that drains you but you return to anyway. The creative work you keep postponing. The version of yourself you glimpse sometimes, focused, magnetic, fully alive, and then watch slowly fade back into the noise. Write it in the comments. One sentence, just the area. You don't need to explain it. You don't need to justify it. Just name it. Because naming what you've been avoiding is the first act of the alchemist. The ancients called it calcination, the burning of the false so the real can be seen. Name the leak. That is where your work begins. Let that settle, because this is the insight that the alchemists built entire lifetimes around. It wasn't mystical speculation. It was an observed fact. A man or woman who had learned to hold and redirect this force operated differently. They thought more clearly. They spoke with more authority. They moved through the world as if some invisible force was clearing the path ahead of them. Because something was. The field was coherent. The signal
was strong.
And the world, which is ultimately nothing more than a system of responding mirrors, had no choice but to reflect that signal back. Now, here is where the modern person runs into a wall. Because we have been trained, deeply, systematically from childhood, to treat sexual energy as something to be either indulged or suppressed. There is no third option in the cultural programming. Either you release it, or you feel guilty about having it. Neither path leads anywhere useful. The indulgence path leads to depletion, to the flatness after, to the subtle erosion of drive and focus, but accumulates over years into a kind of chronic emptiness that most people simply accept as normal. The suppression path leads to rigidity, to the accumulation of unexpressed force that turns into anxiety, compulsion, shadow. Both are dead ends. The third path, the alchemical path, is the one almost nobody talks about, because it requires something that is genuinely rare in modern human beings: presence. Not the performance of presence, not mindfulness as a technique you apply for 10 minutes in the morning. Real, sustained, moment-to-moment awareness of what is moving through your body and where it is going. This is the discipline the mystery schools built their entire curriculum around. Not theology, not ritual for its own sake. The development of internal attention precise enough to observe, hold, and redirect the most powerful current in the biological system. And here is what they discovered. When a person develops that capacity, when they can sit with arousal without being consumed by it, when they can feel the fire rising and choose, deliberately, to direct it upward, something begins to shift at a very deep level. Not just energetically, psychologically. The relationship to desire itself changes. Desire is no longer something that happens to you. It becomes something you use. You stop being the river. You become the dam.
And everything downstream of that dam begins to receive more power than it ever did when the water was running wild. And here is the most important principle in this entire video. Write it down if you need to. The world does not give you what you ask for. It reflects what you are. Not what you want. Not what you visualize once before bed and then forget. What you are, what you radiate, what vibrates at the core of your being day after day, whether you are thinking about it or not. A person who leaks their vital force constantly radiates depletion, and the world reflects that back. Scarcity, missed opportunities, connections that go nowhere. A vague, persistent sense that something essential is missing. A person who transmutes that force radiates coherence, abundance, magnetic attraction, and the world reorganizes itself around that signal. Carl Jung called Eros the psychic force that connects all things. Not merely sexual instinct, but the deep current of creative connection running beneath all of reality. When you amplify that force within yourself, you don't just attract people. You attract synchronicities, opportunities that appear from nowhere, doors that open before you knock, the right person at the right moment with the right information. This is not magic in the superstitious sense. This is resonance. This is physics at a level most people never operate from. Because most people are too depleted to generate the signal. But you are here, and you are beginning to understand why. Now we arrive at the practical heart of this teaching. 3 practices. These are not invented. They are drawn from Hermetic tradition, Taoist internal alchemy, and the inner practices of the tantric lineages, synthesized into a form that is accessible, safe, and immediately applicable. Approach them with respect. You are working with the same force that creates human life. It deserves your full attention. The first practice, the observer's edge.
The first and most foundational practice, because without this one, the others cannot work. Here is the truth about why sexual energy is almost universally wasted. It is not because people lack willpower. It is because the moment arousal builds beyond a certain threshold, awareness collapses. The observer disappears. The instinct takes over. And what follows is automatic, unconscious, reflexive. The fire runs its ordinary course and dissipates. The observer's edge is the practice of maintaining a thread of pure witnessing awareness, no matter how intense the experience becomes. It is not about stopping desire. It is about not being consumed by it. There is a difference. A fire can burn inside a furnace without burning down the house. The furnace is awareness. Here is how to begin developing it. Start outside of moments of arousal. Sit in silence. Breathe slowly and deeply. Observe the sensations of your body without reacting to them, without suppressing them, without rushing past them. Simply watch. Become intimate with the experience of sensation as sensation, rather than as a trigger for automatic response. This is the foundation of all inner alchemy. Then, when arousal does arise, in any context, practice this. Do not immediately follow the impulse. Pause. Breathe. Feel the energy, as a current, as a charge in the body, not as something that must be released, but as something that can be directed. In the moment when you feel the energy building toward its peak, that familiar gathering, that approaching crest, stop. Inhale deeply through the nose. Contract the muscles of the pelvic floor firmly, the same muscles you would use to stop the flow of urine. Hold. And in that held breath, that contracted pause, visualize the energy reversing direction, not escaping outward and down, but ascending, up the spine, slowly, deliberately, like mercury rising in a thermometer. Release the breath slowly. Feel the energy continue its upward movement.
This is not comfortable the first few times. The instinct will push against it. That resistance is exactly the point. Every time you choose the upward path over the automatic one, you are rewiring the circuit. You are teaching your body a new direction for its most powerful current. With practice, weeks, months, this becomes natural. The energy that once rushed blindly toward release begins to feel different, fuller, richer, more nourishing, because it is staying in the system, and the system is beginning to know what to do with it. The second practice, the serpent breath. This is the vehicle, the mechanism by which transmuted energy is moved through the body. It is drawn from the Taoist microcosmic orbit and from Kundalini breathwork traditions, simplified here into a form you can practice safely, alone, every day. Find a quiet space. Sit with your spine straight, feet flat on the floor, hands resting on your thighs. Close your eyes. Take 3 slow, full breaths, in through the nose, out through the mouth. Let each exhale carry away whatever tension the day has left in you. Now begin. On the inhale, draw your breath in slowly. As you breathe in, direct your attention to the base of your spine, the very base. Feel or imagine, it makes no difference at first, a warmth gathering there, a coil of energy, sleeping but alive. As the inhale continues, visualize that warmth beginning to rise, slowly following the curve of your spine upward, vertebra by vertebra, sacrum, lower back, between the shoulder blades, the back of the neck, the base of the skull. At the top of the inhale, the energy reaches the crown of the head. Hold your breath here for just a moment. Feel the pulsing at the crown. On the exhale, the energy descends down the front of the body. From the crown, through the forehead, the face, the throat, the chest, the heart, the solar plexus, the belly, the pelvis, and back to the base. The circuit is complete. This is one cycle.
Perform 9 cycles to begin. As the weeks pass, extend to 18, then 36. Notice what you feel. Early on, you may notice warmth, a tingling, a subtle pressure at the crown or between the eyes. Later, the sensations deepen. A feeling of fullness in the body. A vibration that is difficult to describe, but impossible to mistake. This is the energy moving. This is the circuit opening. Practice this every morning before you look at your phone, before you speak to anyone, before the world pulls your attention outward. This practice, done consistently, does something profound over time. It teaches your body's energy system that there is a path upward, so that when sexual energy arises during the day, in any context, it naturally begins to follow that established circuit rather than dissipating. You have built the channel. The water knows where to go. Combine this with the observer's edge practice whenever arousal is present, and you begin to have real control, not suppression, but direction over the most powerful current in your system. The third practice, the intention anchor. Energy without direction is just force. Force with direction is creation. This third practice is where transmutation becomes manifestation, where the inner fire becomes the mechanism by which you shape your outer reality. Here is the principle. The bioelectromagnetic field that surrounds your body, that aura, is not neutral. It carries the frequency of your dominant internal state. When that state is depletion, the field is weak, scattered, incoherent. It attracts circumstances that match, scattered energy, missed connections, opportunities that dissipate just as they seem to arrive. When that state is accumulated, transmuted creative power, the field is strong, coherent, radiant, and it begins to do something extraordinary. It begins to organize probability. The Hermetic tradition calls this the astral light, the medium through which thought and intention, when charged with vital force, begin to reshape the patterns of material reality. Carl Jung pointed to something adjacent with his concept of synchronicity, meaningful coincidences that could not be explained by linear causality. His insight was that psychic energy, when concentrated and directed, seemed to interact with the outer world in ways that defied ordinary explanation. This is the mechanism, and here is how to use it. During the serpent breath practice, or immediately following it when your energy is circulating and elevated, bring to mind a single, specific intention. Not a vague wish, not a general desire for things to be better, a precise, concrete, fully visualized reality. See it, feel it, inhabit it as if it already exists. The relationship, the creative breakthrough, the material abundance, the level of consciousness you are moving toward. Make it real in your body, not just your mind. Feel the emotions it carries, the expansion in your chest, the solidity of it, the absolute certainty that this is where you are going. Hold this image, this felt sense of reality, in your awareness as the transmuted energy continues to circulate.
Let the energy charge the intention, like filling a vessel with light. And then, at a natural moment of peak energy, when the circuit feels most alive, most full, most radiant, release it. Not with desperation, not with grasping, with the calm certainty of an archer releasing a bowstring. The arrow has been aimed, the bow has been fully drawn. Now, let it fly. Then return to ordinary awareness, to your breath, to the present moment. Do not monitor, do not analyze, do not check. Trust that what has been charged with this force has entered the field. And the field responds. Not always immediately, not always in the form you anticipated, but consistently, persistently, with a precision that will, over time, become undeniable.
The observer's edge builds the capacity to hold the energy. The serpent breath moves the energy through the system. The intention anchor directs the energy into reality. 3 practices, 1 path. A path that the ancient schools understood completely, and that the modern world has done everything in its power to ensure you never find. We are at the end. But more than that, you are at a threshold. You came to this video carrying something. A sense, perhaps, that something in your life was not matching what you were capable of. That there was a version of you, more powerful, more magnetic, more alive, that you had glimpsed but never fully inhabited. That sense was accurate. It was the fire recognizing itself. Let me say this clearly. You are not a victim of your impulses. You are not at the mercy of an instinct designed to keep you perpetually depleted and distracted. You are, your body is, an alchemical laboratory of extraordinary sophistication. A system designed at its deepest level not just to survive, but to transmute. To take the raw material of desire and convert it into something that reaches far beyond the physical. The ancient masters knew this. Tesla knew this. And now you know it. But knowing is only the beginning. The fire does not light itself. It requires your deliberate attention, your consistent practice, your willingness to choose the upward path when every automatic pattern in you reaches for the easy release. That choice, made once and then again, is the great work. Not performed in a laboratory, not requiring initiation into a secret society. Performed in the quiet of your own room, with your own breath, with your own body, with the immense creative power that has been yours from the moment you were born. The world you want to inhabit is not separate from you. It is a reflection of you. The world does not give you what you ask for. It reflects what you are.
When you become a person who no longer leaks their vital force unconsciously, when you become a person whose inner fire is cultivated, directed, and radiant, the world around you begins to reorganize, not through luck, not through force, through resonance. Because a person carrying that quality of transmuted energy is not asking the universe for anything. They are offering something, a coherent signal, a clear frequency. And the universe, like every mirror, has no choice but to reflect it back. You become the sun, and the planets arrange themselves accordingly. This is not metaphor. This is what the initiates of every true tradition understood across every culture, across every century. The fire has always been there, coiled at the base of your spine, patient, ancient, waiting. Not for permission, not for the right moment, for your awareness, for your choice. The path is open. The first step is already behind you. You watched this video. Something in you responded. That response is the fire beginning to move. Do not waste it. If this knowledge speaks to something in you, if you feel that there is more to uncover, more to understand, more of this hidden architecture of reality to bring into the light, subscribe to Secret Archive. What we explore here is not entertainment. It is the recovery of what was always yours. The archive is open. We will see you inside.